Stop scrolling. If you're watching this video, there's probably a reason. Today we're going to talk about 5 signs for you to recognize to know that your marriage or your relationship is over. And I guarantee you these are not things that people are talking about at dinner parties or a girls' night out. So stay tuned and listen up. I have seen hundreds of couples go through divorce. And what it really comes down to is by the time they walk into my office, there are so many underlying signs that have been completely ignored, things that they have overlooked, and by the time they're in my office, things have exploded. And there are those 5 things that have really been happening for months, maybe even years. And make sure to stick around for the end because number 5 kind of shocked me the most when I started to really dive deep. Hi everyone, I am Liz. I'm a divorce attorney in New York, but I am not your attorney. You watching this video and us having this conversation does not create an attorney-client relationship. I know that's boring. I have to tell you that up front. But what I can tell you is that having open discussions here about relationships, about marriage, and specifically about divorce can help save you a tremendous amount of time, money, and energy if you focus on what it is that I'm teaching you, especially if you're going to listen to these 5 issues that we're going to discuss today. Think of this as a friend who's just giving you a heads up on what to look out for. And if any of these 5 signs hit home, do not panic. Take this as a sign that you can start to recognize these things and find a way to prepare yourself for moving forward. All right, so let's dive in. All right, so sign number 1, and this one is subtle. You've stopped fighting. If the two of you generally resolve conflict by butting heads, by arguing, by disagreeing about things, maybe giving little jabs, having full-blown knockdown, drag-out fights. I don't mean physical. I mean fights. You're really not agreeing. You're yelling at each other. You're trying to talk over each other, trying to make sure that your point is heard. They want to make sure that their point is heard. And then that stops. You should take that as a really big sign that not only are you not fighting, you're not communicating. And you're not communicating because you're pretty much done. You're either in a stage where you are resenting that person, where they are resenting you, or where you feel like you will never be able to make progress with them. Sometimes the both of you sort of reach that period of a mutual understanding where we're completely checked out. I don't need to argue with you anymore. I'm going to try to tell you my point of view. I'm going to try to argue with you, and then you don't listen. I'm not trying anymore. When you get to the point where you're not communicating, you're not trying anymore. I actually had someone once tell me, it's okay, we haven't argued in over 2 years. Okay, but then when I followed up with, when was the last time you had a meaningful conversation? A deep discussion about things that you want, things that you want to be able to move forward with as far as where you're living, your children, your retirement, your plans for the future, any of that? That person had to sit there and think about it and say, you know what? You're right. We haven't had that discussion. We barely even speak to each other. Never mind fight. So please recognize that silence doesn't necessarily mean peace. It might just mean resignation. You're both resigned to the fact that we're done. We're still living in the same house. We are still going through the same motions, but we're not actually connected and we don't actually have a deep, meaningful relationship. And I like to sometimes think about this as an emotional divorce. Just because you haven't filed papers, just because you are not officially divorced with a judge's signature on a document, emotionally you're checked out. You're living one life, your spouse is living a totally, completely separate life, and the both of you are just living under the same roof. That's roommates. Sign number 2, you're thinking about your future and maybe even planning your future without your spouse. Now this one hits a little different because this isn't about what you're doing. It's about what you're not doing. You're not including them. And you're not including them for a reason because you see a future down the road, whether it's in a week or whether it's in a month or whether it's in a decade from now, but you are not making space in those plans, in those dreams for your spouse. And if you're not making space for them, there's nothing wrong with that. However, it does mean that if you don't see them in your future, in a week, in a month, in a decade, what about now? What does that mean for now? And maybe it's just the little things. You're thinking about a vacation and you're thinking about, oh my goodness, I want to go away with my friends, or I've always wanted to do this cruise, so maybe I could go with my sister, maybe I can go with a family member. And that's fine. Going with your friends and going with family members, you absolutely should do that. But if none of those plans, those vacation plans, those travel plans, those fun plans involve your spouse, I think that you should start to take a step back and reassess. Maybe it comes down to how you're going to redecorate the house, what you're doing with the yard, how it is that you're going to move forward in your career, maybe advancements, maybe changes, maybe going back to school, and you're never thinking about talking to them about it, getting their input, asking them how they feel about it, right? This is both of your house. If you are thinking about things that you want to do in your future and your spouse is not part of the equation, that's a real red flag. A lot of times when I speak to potential clients, I ask them, when did you start feeling this, that you wanted a divorce? And a lot of times it is hard to pinpoint an exact time frame, and that's understandable. But when they start to take a deeper dive, they actually think, oh my goodness, I've actually had my spouse out of my equation, out of my mind and my planning for a lot longer than I realized. It's almost like your subconscious brain is telling you to start preparing for a life without them, even though you haven't actually said the words. You haven't actually put it out there, the energy out there into the atmosphere, but your brain knows, your mind knows, your deeper self knows. That is definitely your wisdom trying to tell you something. Sign number 3, and this one's a little tough. You feel relief when they are not around. When you come home and you know that your spouse isn't home and you go, and you get to take a breath and be yourself, put your things down and know that you can navigate the house. You can move throughout the world in a way that makes you feel better, freer. That is a really big sign that this marriage, this relationship is over. And now I'm not talking about that normal quiet time, that me time. I love having me time, and I hope you do too. What I'm talking about is a huge sense of relief that not only are they not around now, so you can have a few minutes, you're looking forward to having the time to yourself when they are not around at all. You walk in and it's more than just, oh, okay, I can have a little time to myself. This is great. It is an actual relief. It feels like a burden has been lifted off of you, knowing that they are not there. Whether it's at home, whether it's at a family function, whether it's going to visit your children at college, whatever it is, when you feel better, when you feel lighter, when you feel more like yourself, when your spouse isn't around, that is another really big sign. I remember somebody once saying, I didn't realize how tense or stressed that I felt around my partner, at the time it was their ex, until I started traveling for work, started traveling more and more and getting outside of the house, outside of that normal day-to-day routine, and started watching TV shows on my own, started making meals on my own, feeling such a sense of relief that I don't have to worry about somebody changing the channel on me, somebody deciding what we're going to have for dinner, somebody complaining about something. That person started to feel so much better doing it on their own as opposed to doing it with their spouse, and that's when it triggered for them. Then they knew. When being alone feels better to your body than being with your partner, that is your literal self telling you the future, telling you that you need to find a new path. You should not have to recover from being around your spouse. And here's the kicker. If you're feeling that relief when you're not around them, I assure you the feeling is probably mutual. They might be feeling the same relief. Oh my goodness, I got to come home and that person isn't there. And this is true even if nobody's talking about it. Sign number 4, you are having important conversations, talking about things that are so meaningful without them there. If you are thinking about changing your career, if you're going through a health crisis, if you're having concerns about your children, those kinds of things, and you need to have those big discussions with people, and I'm not talking about you have a health concern and you're talking to your doctor. Of course you need to speak to your doctor first. I'm talking about trying to parse through it, trying to make it make sense, trying to talk to somebody as a form of support. If you're doing this and talking to somebody else, and your partner is still over there and they have not been included in these important conversations, and you don't feel that they are going to be a support system to you if you're having those conversations, that is another really big sign. So I encourage you to think about this. When was the last time that you had to make a big decision, have a big conversation, take a deep dive into something that you were going through? Who's the person that you turned to talk to about that? Was it your spouse? Was it your best friend? Was it your sister? Was it a coworker? Think about who it is that you're confiding in and who it is that you're going to as a sounding board. And that very well could be an indicator as to the status of your marriage. Because the truth is, if you're having these important conversations with a coworker, with your sister, with your mother, with your next door neighbor, and not your spouse, you've almost demoted that relationship from an equal partnership to one of being roommates. And I hear it all the time. People will often say, I don't even communicate with them anymore. And what they really mean is, I don't feel like my feelings, my concerns, my interests are going to be validated, so I don't have the important conversations with them at all. So if you have found that your real support system is outside of your relationship, that's not just a communication breakdown. That's an actual fundamental shift in the dynamics of your relationship. And number 5, and this one surprised me the most, just thinking about the cases that I've had, you've stopped trying to change them. You've stopped trying to mold them into being the person that you want them to be. And when I say that, we know that we can never really change somebody or make them be who we want them to be. What I mean is, when you're in a relationship, whether it's brand new, whether you've been in this for a little while, there's always some give and take. And you will always maybe tell your partner, okay, I prefer for something to be done this way. And they tell you, I prefer for something to be done that way. Whether it's something as simple as the way the laundry is folded, whether it's something as simple as who's going to take the car on the weekend to be serviced, or if it's something as important as how you're going to rear your children, how you're going to discipline them, religion of the children, those kind of things. The two of you are always trying to have a little bit of give and take and learn from each other and make sure that you are expressing to the other what it is that you want. So if your normal routine is, you know what, I would really appreciate it if you could take care of X, Y, and Z, because when I get home, then I will take care of A, B, and C. And if this is a normal pattern for the both of you, and then you stop doing that, that's a real concern. Because then maybe you're asking your partner to help or to cooperate in a certain way, and then one day you just completely stop. Maybe you stop expecting them or even hoping for them to step up, for them to surprise you, for them to be the person that you want them to be. You're not even asking for it anymore. You don't expect it. Sometimes you don't even want it. And I've often heard people say, well, this is just a sign of maturity. I've learned to accept them for who they are. Have you? Or have you resigned? Have you just given up? Because if you've mentally moved on from how do I fix this relationship? How do I express myself? How is it that I am going to ask my partner to show up the way I want them to? Well, then think about what that means for the entire relationship. Please recognize that this acceptance of the way they are is not peace. It's preparation. So now please, if you're watching this and you think, oh my goodness, that's me, my marriage is over. Wait, maybe not. What it might mean, though, is that you're at a crossroads and you need to think about doing things differently. Now, whether that means you're going to get therapy together, you are going to try to open lines of communication and speak to your partner about your concerns, that is a very real possibility. And a lot of relationships really can make a successful comeback if you are willing to have those hard conversations, if you are willing to speak to your partner about going to therapy, and if they're willing to come along. Because it doesn't have to mean the end of the relationship, but it certainly means the end of things the way they were, because that was not working for you. And there's only so long that you can or should stay in a relationship that is not working for you. And a lot of couples reach that point, and they do go to therapy, and they do open lines of communication, and they have a stronger marriage and a stronger relationship and a stronger, deeper bond than ever before. And others decide, you know what? I have emotionally moved on. We are living under the same roof and going through the same patterns, but now it's my time to move on. Now it's time for me to think about my future completely separate from the other person. And that's okay too. The important thing is to be honest with yourself and to be honest with your partner about what you want for now and what you want for your future. Here's what I want you to do now. If this video helped in any way, maybe gave you a little bit more clarity, please like, please share, please subscribe, and please know that there is a better way. You do not have to be stuck in a relationship that does not work for you. So here's what I would like you to do now. If this video resonated with you and maybe helped you see things a little bit more clearly, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share it with anyone else. Because the truth of the matter is, engagement here helps these conversations open up to so many more people. Secondly, please leave a comment and let me know if any of these 5 signs resonated with you. Have you experienced them? Have you hit a crossroads with your partner, and maybe this is something that you're a little concerned about? Maybe you have another sign. Leave a comment and let me know. I read all of the comments, and it informs me as to what it is that you want to hear about, and maybe more content that we can make in the future to take a deeper dive into how we can help you. Our focus going forward is going to be releasing videos every Saturday and every Tuesday to give you the information that you need to be your best self in your relationship, on your own, moving forward to create your best future. And remember, no matter what you're going through, you're not going through it alone. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Divorce Den, and we will see you next time.